What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And guys, at this point, I think the Kansas City Chiefs' best fit at left tackle, left in free agency is rather obvious at this point. I'll tell you about who that is right after this. So, Chiefs Kingdom, as you guys probably know, this free agent class at left tackle is rather weak. And even some of the top guys that we originally thought were going to be available, such as Alaric Jackson of the Los Angeles Rams and Ronnie Stanley of the Baltimore Ravens, are already off the board. They signed new contracts with their current teams. They will not even hit the open market. So options seem to be drying up for the Kansas City Chiefs to get better at left tackle in 2025. And after trading Joe Thuney earlier last week, making the left side of the line even weaker, it is now imperative that the Kansas City Chiefs get the left tackle position right, because now you don't have that all-pro left guard in Joe Thuney to help out whoever the left tackle is. You need to get a dependable left tackle that doesn't necessarily need help against some of the better pass rushers. You have to get left tackle right. We just cannot have Patrick Mahomes running around for his life all throughout the 2025 NFL season. But at this point, I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs are necessarily finding a long-term solution at the left tackle position this offseason. This free agency class is rather weak. The draft class at left tackle is rather weak, and a lot of the top tackles in this draft do not fit the Kansas City Chiefs thresholds as far as arm length goes and athleticism goes, size, all those things. There's just not that right combination in this draft. And even if there is, the Kansas City Chiefs are picking at the end of the first round. So barring a major trade up, they're not going to be able to get one of those top guys that would be ready to start from day one. And even if they were able to do that, I don't think there's the obvious player worth trading up for in this draft that could start at left tackle for you day one. So I think the Chiefs basically have to throw numbers at the position, and they have to go out and find a solid veteran free agent that raises the floor from last year. We saw what happened when the Kansas City Chiefs trotted out Kingsley Suamataia. He wasn't ready. Wanya Morris, still a project himself. Joe Thuney was able to fill in a pinch, but he struggled against the speed rush threat that the Philadelphia Eagles possessed. And he's just not a left tackle. He's not a long-term solution at left tackle. And again, I don't think the Chiefs are finding a long-term solution at left tackle this offseason. But I think, if you throw numbers at the position, if you sign a couple of veterans, including, DJ Humphries, bring him back. He's already said that he wants to compete for the Chiefs starting left tackle position with a full offseason and getting healthy. And I think the Chiefs kind of owe that to him as well, because I don't think it was ever realistic for him to come in and immediately be that answer at left tackle coming off a torn ACL. He's going to need to go through a full offseason and training camp, and then I think he'll have a solid shot. And the hope would be that maybe he could give you similar play to maybe a 2023 version of Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith himself is also an option that the Chiefs could pick up in free agency after he is now healthy, which was reported last week. But I think the clear and obvious free agent option, as far as like a veteran free agent goes now for the Kansas City Chiefs, is Pittsburgh Steelers left tackle Dan Moore Jr. Now, this is a guy that's flown a little bit under the radar this offseason. He's going to be a free agent, and as of making this video, and hopefully when you guys see this in the morning, because by the time you're seeing this, the tampering window will have opened and guys will start signing deals. But Dan Moore is going to hit the open market, and I think this is a guy that the Kansas City Chiefs should be interested in. Now, the reason why I say Dan Moore and why I think at this point he is the best fit is because he's exactly what the Chiefs need at the position in the short term, which is a dependable starter, someone that's going to play games and can stay healthy. He's shown that he can stay healthy, and he's going to be there. That's an issue that the Chiefs have dealt with, excuse me. And he's also solid. He's not great. He's not elite, but I would say he's good. Now, he struggled early on in his career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but over the past couple of years has been a steady player. I mean, he's not been someone you heard talked about on NFL Network or ESPN as one of the best left tackles in the league, but he's also not a guy that you hear about because he's so bad. He's just kind of there. And I think, at this point, most Chiefs fans would probably sign up for that. They would sign up for solid left tackle play, which is what Dan Moore Jr. provides. Now, I'm going to throw up his PFF grades here for a second. You can see he's pretty much average across the board. Now, I think it also should be noted that the Pittsburgh Steelers had a revolving door at quarterback this season, and they have Russell Wilson, who takes a lot of bad sacks and holds on to the ball a long time. That's going to be challenging for an offensive lineman, and it's challenging for an offensive tackle, especially when you have a constantly changing quarterback situation, because you have to build that chemistry. You have to build that rapport with your quarterback. And Dan Moore didn't really get the chance to do that this past season. And so I don't think some of the numbers are necessarily his fault. And again, he was average across the board. And I think you'd take that. Like, I think this is a guy that could give you similar, if not better play than 2023 Donovan Smith. Now, the other reason why I like Dan Moore and why I could see him being a fit for the Kansas City Chiefs is because, well, he fits the thresholds. So I want to pull up his relative athletic score here from Math Bomb. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. 8.9 relative athletic score, shows good explosiveness, good athleticism. The Kansas City Chiefs like athletic offensive tackles. They like athletic offensive linemen. And not only that, but he possesses, I'll throw it up one more time, 34.5-inch arms. That is the type of arm length that the Kansas City Chiefs are looking for in a left tackle. A lot of the guys in this draft class have below 34-inch arms, and that's not really what the Chiefs want to do. They don't want to play around with that because arm length is very important because you need to be able to have that reach to fend off defensive linemen. And that's kind of where you saw Joe Tooney struggle in the Super Bowl, is because he didn't have that arm length to kind of engage with the defensive linemen before they were already knocking him back. And it just was not a good mixture. Dan Moore Jr., he has the measurables, he has the athleticism. He's also only 26 years old. Like, he's still pretty young. I still think there's upside with him, which is another reason that I like him. Like, I think this is a guy that you could see get better, especially playing with Patrick Mahomes, being in a consistent situation with a good quarterback. That's very important. We know that the Chiefs are a good organization. Andy Heck historically has done a pretty good job developing offensive linemen. I know people have kind of questioned him a little bit over the past couple of years, but I think that's just more so about the lack of talent to work with at the left tackle position. I think Dan Moore is plenty talented. He was drafted back in 2021, and he's still got ways to go, I think, as a player. Like, I don't think he's topped out as far as his development goes. Now, the question will be, what kind of contract would he require in order to bring him in? And I think, the ideal situation for Dan Moore Jr. would be to sign him to a 2-year deal, maybe around $15 million per year, like a 2-year, $30 million deal with some guarantees in there. I think if the Chiefs could get that done, bring Dan Moore in on like a 2-year, $33 million deal with $25 million guaranteed, I think that would be perfect. Because I think he could sign up for that and be comfortable. I think that's more than the Steelers are probably willing to give him. I think that could lure him away from Pittsburgh. I don't even know how active Pittsburgh is going to be in trying to keep him. It seems like they're heading for a little bit of an offensive reset, which is fine. And that way, you're not locked up to him long term to where you can search for your long term answer at left tackle next offseason, because I think that's kind of what the Chiefs have to do here, is find a guy that is a stopgap sort of veteran free agent that can provide solid play. And then next offseason, when the free agent class is a little bit better and when the draft class is a little bit better, then you can find your long-term answer at left tackle. And if you have Dan Moore Jr. for another year, if it is like a 2-year deal, then after the Chiefs inevitably cut Jawan Taylor next year, saving some money, maybe Dan Moore could slide over to right tackle for you, where I think he'd fit even better on the Chiefs offensive line. You could have Dan Moore on the right side and whoever they end up getting a year from now at left tackle on the left side. And I think that would give you probably a pretty solid tackle duo, which is something that we haven't been able to say about the Chiefs in a while. So, guys, at this point, I think Dan Moore is the obvious answer at left tackle for the 2025 season. This is a free agent that I expect them to show interest in. I expect them to show interest in some left tackle free agent, even if it's not Dan Moore. But gun to my head, like, who do I think the Chiefs go after? Who do I think is the best fit? I think it's Dan Moore Jr. So those are my thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs approach at left tackle here coming up in less than 24 hours. But hopefully by the time you guys are watching this, the Chiefs have made a move, and maybe it is Dan Moore, and I look like a genius. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts, regardless of when you're seeing this. Do you like the potential of Dan Moore being the Chiefs left tackle in 2025? I want to hear from you guys. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com, arrowheadaddict.com for more. That's all I got for this one. I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.